Remember those good old days of dual income, no kids, double-digit pay raises, and two-for-one stock splits? Well, these days, money's a lot harder to get a hold of and even harder to hang on to. That's why State Farm agent Paul Dawning would like to introduce you to the Discount Double Check. He'll go through your car insurance policy line by line and make sure you're getting the discounts you deserve and aren't leaving any money on the table. It's fast, it's free, and when he's done finding you 10% here, 15% there, you could find yourself looking at discounts of up to 40%. That could mean savings worth hundreds of dollars, and that's a pretty good return for simply investing a few minutes of your time. So call State Farm agent Paul Dawning today at 219-884-6947 because being there to help keep more money in your pocket is why he's here. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Good afternoon, and welcome to the 800 Credit Score Man Show. I am your host, Kevin King. He is I, and I am him, the 800 Credit Score Man himself. And again, thank each and every one of you guys for coming in and listening to the 800 Credit Score Man Show. I truly, truly appreciate it, and I gotta let you know that it's absolutely paying off that you guys are coming in and listening and sharing and following and all of those things. So I truly, truly appreciate it. Only a couple of times on social media did I put out a little teaser that I would have an announcement today. So I'm going to just go ahead and get this out of the way right quick. I'm happy about it. I'm actually ecstatic about it because I've been looking forward to this since the show started. So I want to announce and welcome in all of the listeners from iHeartRadio. Yes, iHeartRadio has picked up the 800 Credit Score Man Show. So yet another place where you can get the 800 Credit Score Man Show. I used to say there was no excuse. You can find it any and everywhere. That's truly the case at this point. iHeartRadio has to be maybe the second, if not the third, largest streaming facility online. So you can get it at iHeartRadio as well, the 800 Credit Score Man Show. So thank you to all of the new listeners that might be coming in and using iHeartRadio for their platform to listen. So thanks so very much. I appreciate you guys so very much. That doesn't mean don't follow me at other places when I ask you to do things. Please go to Spreaker.com. Follow me there. I need more followers on Spreaker.com so we can keep moving this show to the next level. So thank you so very much, everybody. I appreciate it. So what are we going to talk about today? I put out that we were going to talk about CPNs. If you've never heard of what a CPN is, I'll explain some of that to you today. We're going to talk about other ways that people are using to try to get around the system a little bit, or some strategies that they're using to get around the system, if you will. So we're going to talk about CPNs. We're going to talk about some trade lines today as well. So we're going to do that. And then, of course, I'm going to try to give you a couple of things that you can do to help improve your credit. Now, everything that I say doesn't necessarily fit in your category. You may not have this issue at all, but take all of these things in, and at least you'll be able to pass that information on to your friends and your family to help them out as well, and share the show. Share the show with those people as well. So let me start out with this first shout out. I got to shout out the children of Chris Headland. So Ian, Natalie, and Colin, I want to give you guys a big shout out. Thank you so much for listening to the 800 Credit Score Man Show. I truly appreciate it. I know that they do it because Chris told me that they do it while they're riding in the car. So thank you so very much for listening to the show. When these kids grow up, they're going to be like my kids. They're going to have 1,000 credit score. Now, your credit score only go 300 to 850, but they probably going to have 1,000 because they're going to start off on the right foot. So thank you guys for listening. I got to give this shout out. This young man turns 21 today, Frankie Garrett. Frankie Garrett, happy 21st birthday to you. Man, I remember those days. So happy birthday to you, man. Take it easy. Don't go too hard on him, all right? So happy birthday, Frankie. So let's jump into the show a little bit. I want to backtrack just for a second to last week's show. Last week's show we was entitled Dispute It. So I talked about what you should dispute on your credit report, how to dispute it, all of those kinds of things. If you miss that show and you have items that are in error or are simply not yours on your credit report, go back and listen to that show. So since we talked about that last week, I don't think that I mentioned this, and I absolutely should have. So when you make a dispute, you must file the dispute with each of the credit bureaus individually. Yes, each of them individually. So if you file a dispute with Experian, and no matter how it comes back, for or against you, hopefully it comes back in your favor. But you must file the same dispute with the other credit bureaus as well. So I did not mention that. So if you file it with Experian, you've got to file your dispute with Equifax, and you've got to file your dispute with TransUnion, because these three companies are all separate companies. They're all separate entities. So they don't talk to each other, if you will. So you need to make sure to get all three of your credit reports reflecting the same information. So you want to file them with TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. You can do them all online. You can send them all letters, or you can even call them as well. So make sure that you file with all three when you file a dispute. Now, full disclosure, with my clients, what I like to do, if it's something that I think is quote unquote iffy, it might come off, it might not come off. I want to see what this collection agency is going to say. I might file with just one. So I might file with just one first and see kind of what comes back with that. We get positive results, then I'll go ahead and file with the others as well. Or maybe I change the tactic with the other two since it didn't come off on the first one. So that's what I do personally. But I want you guys to make sure that you file with all three of the credit bureaus when you have a dispute, and you do it online, or you call them, or you send them some mail as well. So make sure you do that. I had to get that out there because I wasn't sure that I mentioned that yet on the other show. So let's jump into these CPNs. Let's talk about CPNs. If you've never heard of a CPN, basically a CPN is a different number other than your social security number that people are basically selling. There are people out there that are selling, companies that are selling CPN numbers. So it's almost like just getting a different number. It has 9 digits, just like your social security number does, and all of those things. But when you apply for credit, you utilize your CPN number. That's the point. And so for hopefully your CPN number, and what they're trying to tell you is hopefully your CPN number doesn't have all of the negatives associated with it that maybe your social security number does. So that's what people are doing, and that's what a CPN number is. So let's talk about the legality of having a CPN number. So since they're out there selling them, I'm going to say, well, my strategy is, or my tag is credit restoration done right. In my opinion, CPN numbers are not the right way to go. Now, if you have a horrible situation, you seem like you'll never, ever be able to get out of it, maybe CPN is the way that you want to go, but I'm not absolutely sure that it's absolutely legal. When you sign that piece of paper after you've entered all your information, you've put your social and your birthday and where you work and how much money you actually make and how much your rent actually is and all of those things, when you do that, you are signing that all of the information above is true. Now, there's no spot on this application or any application that I've ever seen that says, what's your CPN number? It might even say, what's your EIN number? And that's for those people that are that have businesses and things of that nature. You get an EIN number from the government. So it might even ask you that if you were doing something business related, but it always asks you what your social is. So when you put that different number in, that CPN number, that is not your social. So technically you're committing fraud. So it's a possibility it could come back to bite you in the butt in that regard. You never know. Some attorney general or somebody trying to make a name for themselves may start to look at these things, and it may cause you some legal trouble. So is it worth it to get a CPN number and use it that way versus going about fixing your credit or repairing or restoring your credit the correct way? I think not. So please, I'm telling you guys, try to stick away from the CPN numbers. I've heard numbers of $1,500 for your CPN number, numbers of $2,000, $2,500 just for you to get this CPN number. I would venture to say if you had $2,500 to go ahead and throw at your credit to try to get it restored, then you could go about the right way to do so. You can go about it by paying off some of those collections, making negotiations with the people that you owe money to, things of that nature. Maybe you can go get a secured card or something like that. If you've got $2,500, you can absolutely contact me at 800creditscoreman@gmail.com, and it'll cost you way less than $2,500, and we'll put you in the right direction to help you improve your credit score. So I would not go toward the CPN route. If I was any of you guys, I haven't recommended it to any people. And I know people that actually do the CPN numbers. I haven't recommended to anybody at all that you get a CPN number to try to skirt the system, if you will, and improve your credit or to go ahead and get something. So be cautious, be careful when you're out there doing that. I mentioned the EIN numbers. Some places are even saying you should get your EIN number. That's basically when you're going to start a business. You know, I have the 800 Credit Score Man business. So you have that business. You get your EIN number. That's like your quote-unquote social security number for your business, and then you can utilize that. If you don't have an actual business, then you shouldn't be getting an EIN number and trying to establish credit under that number either. Now, if you do have a legitimate business and you're attempting to make inroads that way, it's perfectly fine to do so. But to do it in this way, and I'm going to call it fraudulent, to do it this way when it's not exactly what you're trying to do, it's not going to be positive for you if the law ever catches up with you. So make sure that you're protecting yourself and you go about doing things the right way. Make sure you do that. All right. So that's CPN numbers as far as I'm concerned. I hope you get my gist that I would not go out and buy me a CPN number to help me with my credit. So let me throw out a couple of more shout outs, and then we're going to get to the next thing I want you to be careful of and look out for. I want to give a happy birthday shout out to Bryant Seaton. Bryant Seaton celebrated his birthday earlier this week. I got to give a huge shout out to Shawana Macklin. She celebrated a birthday as well. Happy birthday to you, Shawana. I got to give a shout out to Gordon Chube, one of my frat brothers from the Alpha chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. He celebrated a birthday earlier as well, so happy birthday. And I got to give a shout out to Paul Hyde Jr. Paul Hyde Jr., one of the most conscious men I've ever known in my life ever since I met this man way back in the day. So happy birthday to you, Paul Hyde Jr. as well. All right, so let's jump to the next thing. Talked about CPNs. You got the gist on that, I hope. So let's talk about a little bit about filing a false claim of identity theft. Some places that you talk to, they'll say to you, well, it's a lot of identity theft going on out there, then maybe you should go ahead and you should file a claim that your identity has been stolen. Excuse me. So when you file a claim for your identity being stolen, what happens is that you get a report, you get that report from the police station, you file the report that your identity has been stolen. Then you alert the credit bureaus, right, that your identity has been stolen. Same thing like if you're going to dispute an item, you've got to let all three of them know that your identity has been stolen. When that happens and you list the accounts that you say were fraudulent and they were not yours, then those accounts they absolutely should come off of your credit report. Now, again, just like with the CPN number and you fill out that application, this is absolutely fraudulent. When you do that, then you are committing a crime. The Fair Credit Reporting Act is a federal law. It's a federal law, so it's a federal act. You are committing a federal crime. So it's not a state crime, it's a federal crime. So you got to absolutely be careful about doing something like that. If it's actually yours, you need to go ahead and own it. You need to try to come up with a strategy to pay those people off or get around it some other way. Because sometimes if you do dispute something, it could be yours, technically. It could be yours, but you dispute it and it does come off of your credit report. for any number of reasons. When you go to dispute something, if you do it online, there are 10, 12, 14 different options you get to choose. Maybe you fit in one of those things that you can